If we will bow our heads, please, giving thanks to the Almighty God, asking Him to please stay with us, guide us, train us, help us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please stand with me as we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board of Adjustments is a 9-member board. We're appointed by the City Council and we serve on a voluntary basis without compensation. Our procedure for conducting business is that I will call out the name of the petitioner on that particular item. If you would please come to the mic and the podium and please present your request and be prepared to answer any questions that any members of the board may have or anyone in the audience may have. Once we receive public testimony and discussion on a particular item, members of the board, we will deliberate and we will render our decision. I'll remind members with a personal or a financial interest in any request, you're required to recuse yourself from voting. Any testimony that's submitted by the petitioner on behalf of the petitioner during the presentation of the agenda item will be binding as to any decision the board makes relative to the motion. I remind members of the board that if a motion is made to deny a particular item, you're required to give a reason. This time I'll introduce the members of the board that are here tonight. I believe we have 7 here now. Ms. K.T. Brown, our Vice Chairman, Mr. Steve Hughes, Mr. Nathan Williams, Ms. Jennifer Shaw, Mr. Bart Prince, Mr. George Howell Jr., and I'm John Stanley, your Chairman. Our planning control staff tonight that's here is Mr. Robert Smith, our Director of Planning, Mr. Tommy Tyson, our Executive Secretary, Mr. James Senator, and Ms. Tanya Ingram, our Recording Secretary. Are there any questions? It takes 5 votes to approve a motion, and we have 7 members here tonight. We have 2 others that may be here before, throughout the meeting. We have 7 items on the agenda. If you happen to be here as a result of a posting in the Montgomery Advertiser relative to a property located adjacent to Vaughn Forest Church on Vaughn Road, that item is not heard tonight. It did not make it in time in order to be put on our agenda. But it was posted in the newspaper. So if you're here in regards to that particular item, it will not be heard tonight. It may be heard next time, so be watching for that. Okay? Item number 1 tonight is presented by Neil Hutto, requesting a side yard variance to place an accessory structure in the required side yard, a separation between structures variance, and a height variance for a new fence to be located at 3410 Ridgefield Drive in an R85 zoning district. Mr. Hutto here? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I assume you're Mr. Hutto?
My name is
Neil
Neil
Hutto.
Hutto.
Okay, all right.
Can we hear?
Yes, sir.
Good. My wife requested birthday present, Christmas present to contain a fence around part of an unused yard and a small greenhouse to save her plants from wintertime. Once we started looking, it made sense to me to put the greenhouse inside the fence where it wouldn't be seen, would not take up room in the backyard. And because of some antique doors we had to go in the greenhouse, they were 7 feet tall. The fence needed to be 8 feet to hide the greenhouse from everybody. That was the purpose. It hides the electrical on the side of our house from view. It leaves us a place to hide the garbage cans and stuff from view instead of being out in the open. We don't mind moving the thing to the backyard. We just didn't want to take up more room back there that was visible all over from the neighbors. And it just seemed like a logical place to put it.
Sure, I understand. So you understand why you're here. It's too close to the side yard.
I agree. It is on.
And your fence
it's on the property line.
The fence is higher than what's allowed.
Yeah.
And you're too close to your existing structure.
Right.
So.
It just, since it's not visible from anywhere unless you go stand by it, I hoped it would go fly.
Gotcha.
I have signed affidavits from neighbors that they did not mind. I have 28 of them from all but one person in the neighborhood.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Hutto, on the board? I think there is some opposition here tonight.
Question.
Okay.
Question.
Mr. Howell?
The greenhouse is inside a fence,
Inside the fence.
okay? How tall is the greenhouse? Will it stick up above the fence?
Well, that's why I wanted an 8-foot fence. So then the doors we have are 7 feet. They are on a 6-inch floor, a foundation floor, and no pitch on the roof, or just minimum pitch, because corrugated fiberglass will drain off. It doesn't have to be steep. The purpose of the 8-foot fence was to hide everything.
Okay, to hide the whole thing.
Hide the whole thing,
Even from the front and the side?
front and the sides.
All right.
And we proposed an 8-foot fence and cypress fence boards to be stained decent color.
Okay. Tell us what you're intending to do with the water coming off of that so that it does not drain onto your adjacent property owner.
The water comes in a drain on my property from both properties, side and side. We have gone in and put a drain system, one on the neighbor's property, 2 on my property for water that comes down theirs and on ours that comes underneath where this greenhouse is, drains into a ditch that's this wide, or a drainage ditch on my property.
Is it an open ditch?
It is an open ditch.
But what about the water?
It has concrete flooring, concrete pavers all the way down.
What about the water coming off of the roof of the structure? You're 6 inches or right at the property line of the adjacent property. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Will drop into this ditch. The front side is 6 inches back from the fence, and I propose to put a gutter right there that comes down and goes back under the house.
Okay. All right.
That's why the fence is 12 feet. The house is 11.6. That leaves this much opening between the house and the fence for the gutter to carry the water off.
What's the size of the greenhouse?
4 feet by 12 feet. 12 feet by 11.5.
4 feet by 11.5. But you've got it 6 inches off of the property line.
It's sitting on 4 by 6s with 2 by 6 flooring.
Okay. So it's not on a slab.
Pardon?
It's not on a slab? Is
No,
it on a
It's
slab?
not on a slab. I can move it.
Okay.
The
It's on
posts are in
skids.
concrete, but it's not on a slab.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions, board members? Steve?
Is there any fence there now?
I'm sorry?
Is there any fence there now
The framework is there.
for this 8-foot fence?
The framework is there. I started it and then figured, it was brought to my attention that I have to have a variance. So the 4-bys are in, there's a 6-by-6 on the corner. It's all in concrete, but it can be moved if it has to, or just cut off and move the post.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is anyone in the audience that care to address this item?
If you need the signed affidavits, I have them here.
You've got how many?
28.
28. Okay. Tanya, you want those for your record? Okay. You can give those to Tanya. We'll come back to you, Mr. Hutto. Okay.
My name is Charles Necrosi. My wife, Kitty, and I live next door at 2101 Hillwood. We've lived there for 47 years. At this time, I'd like to pass out some items and photographs.
Charles, I'll let you, I'll pass those out, and then you, if you would go back to the mic so everybody can hear you.
If you'll see on the first page, there's a photograph of Mr. Hutto's house on the left. Our home is on the right. On the second page of photographs, the first photograph is taken from our daughter's bedroom window. The second one is taken outside of her bedroom window, looking at this proposed shed or shop that Mr. Hutto wants to build. The third photograph on page 2 shows what he's done already. And the reason he stopped is that I was concerned that I had not gotten a letter from anybody about this construction. I called the zoning. They told me it was R85, which has a 10-foot setback from each side. I called the building department. There was no permit for this building to be built. I think Mr. Hutto was extremely wrong in his thinking on this, because the only variants have been given in Ridgeville are for fences, which are 6 feet high. No building variance has been given for a shop to be built in the 10-foot side yard setback in entire Ridgeville. Ridgeville is 3 blocks with about 90 to 100 homes. They came by Mrs. Hutto and asked us to sign this petition. We refused to sign it because we are concerned and do not like the idea of a building being built next to our lot line, because you could store gasoline and every kind of other item in there and have a real fire, and could have a safety factor problem too. There's plenty of space in the backyard for a shop like this. He has a nice shop on the other side of his yard in the backyard. He could build this one in the backyard as well. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Charles, in your opinion, where do you think his water's going to go?
I beg your pardon?
In your opinion, where do you think his water is going to go?
Some of it's going in my yard. This thing is over 6 feet. This thing's 9 feet high. And nobody in Ridgeville has a building on the side setback.
So if his building is 9 feet high and his fence is only 8, you can still see it.
Yeah. And I think the only variance for wooden fences or privacy fences in Ridgeville are 6 feet. I don't think there are any 8 feet. I checked with your department last week. I don't think there have been any 8 feet high privacy fences. I may stand wrong, corrected on that, but.
Okay.
Anybody? Any questions?
Anyone care to ask Mr. Necrosi any questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item? Mr. Hutto, you can come back if you'd like, and you can, your options are to request that we consider your request, or you can offer to relocate it without us having to deal with it.
Well, I'd rather leave it where it is, since it fits our use better, but it's up to you guys.
I'm asking you because you suggested that you could relocate it. So I'm asking you, do you want us to continue to pursue this or consider this, or do you want to offer to go ahead and relocate it?
Well, can I say a few things?
Sure, absolutely.
There's nothing in this that will keep the water from going where it's always gone, which is on my property, not on theirs. The fence does not go to the ground. There is nothing to stop the water going. Yeah, we can move it. It's not the end of the world. But I'd rather use unused space that my wife and I maintain, that the neighbors do not maintain. And we just think we have spent a lot of money on this house since we moved in. It makes the place look better. It makes the neighborhood better. It was a foreclosed home. We have spent a lot of money. We'll do nothing to take away from the look of the place. And after that, it's up to you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Toto. Want to have any questions? Mr. Brown?
What is the height of the greenhouse?
The greenhouse total will be right at 8 feet to the peak.
At 8 feet?
And I may have to cut her door down just a little bit because she bought antique 7-foot doors to go in it.
And there's no gasoline. It is a greenhouse.
Yeah.
There will be nothing in there that will ever be flammable.
There's no
Plants.
power, there's no electricity, there's no water. It's to keep her plants out of the cold. That's it.
That's all. It'll be pretty.
Double doors, windows on two sides.
It's not going to be
It's
a
just-
mess. It'll be neat. The water will be going down into the drain that we've already put in there. There's big pipes going down, and there's little drain things out there to catch any water that's coming. Any water that comes off of this will be going back down off of a gutter that he's going to install. So no water's going anywhere except down, under, and then into this ditch that was pre-existing when we moved in. And that's where it'll go. We have good neighbors. All of our neighbors are good. What we really would like to do is keep our neighbors good and have friends out of our neighbors and be a neighborhood. We don't want any kind of things going on between us. That's all of us. To pull 28 names up from the Ridgefield Garden Club and from our neighbors saying, we appreciate what you're doing. You're working hard to keep the neighborhood going swell and clean and bettering our property for everybody, you know. And they're stating, well, when they look out the window, they see this. It is their daughter's bedroom. She's a grown woman. She's gone. When I asked them if our puppy was, who barks sometimes, if they heard it, they said, no, we don't hear it because we never use that room. It looks ugly now because it's been cut off. Once it's done, it'll only benefit them due to the fact that they're not going to see our garbage cans and all that stuff, that electric stuff that's out there that just detracts from your house. It'll be a very pretty fence. It'll be decorative. It's not going to be ugly, you know. It'll be a very classic fence that will benefit their yard and ours. Of course, we don't want to detract from our house. Good heavens, we want our property value to go up just as much as anybody else does when you purchase a home. So that's our goal. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for
very
your
much.
time.
Question.
Mr. Howell?
Sure.
The pictures that Mr. Necrosi gave us, the fence is made out of cypress and it covers two sides.
The fence will be 8-foot cypress fence boards if we agree to it. We still would like a 6-foot if we don't agree to it, and I'll move the greenhouse somewhere else. We would still like a fence there. Okay. But the cypress, 8-foot cypress, my son works for a fence company. I'm pretty good at it too, and we intend to have a decent fence right there that I'm told we will stain.
Okay.
And it'll have a very decorative closure and opening. I mean, it's going to be pretty.
And they want caps on the posts and, you know, make it nice.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is the greenhouse itself made out of?
It's going to be treated lumber.
Okay.
Treated lumber, we've got windows on either side of the front of the double doors, which are glass, old French doors. Windows on the open end, back, the other two sides are treated plywood that are behind the fence boards.
Okay.
But your proposed fence would only be that piece, the front that faces the street, correct?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it'll be the same
Nothing
as,
down the side, only the front.
no, it's going to be cypress on both sides.
Well, the height of, I'm talking about the 8-foot height you're proposing.
8 foot, we proposed the whole thing 8 foot.
Because what our agenda says is the street view side of the fence only, correct?
Street side,
Yeah,
it's hard to hear.
You're proposing the 8-foot privacy fence to be parallel with the street and down the side?
Well, it's an L shape. It's 10 feet across the front from the house, almost to the property line, 12 feet back to the existing chain link fence, which we will take down our side of
I
that.
got you. I got you.
Mr. Chairman, that might have been misinterpretation, but you can entertain that coming down the side.
Okay. See, our agenda only states that it be that portion of the fence that's runs parallel with the street, perpendicular to the side of your house. It doesn't talk about an 8-foot fence down the side property line.
Okay, what
So
do we do
you're-
now?
So you're saying,
Where you see that?
Well, the,
Yeah, let them say,
hold on.
let them say.
The agenda only talks about this.
get the big one, get the big drawing back.
So in your, because we're dealing with 3 different items here, board members.
Right.
Okay, everybody got it? Hold on. How far, after it makes the L and runs down the side property line, how long would that 8-foot high fence be?
12 feet.
12 feet long? Okay, I got it. Everybody got it? Excuse me? Huh? Okay. Speak a little louder, Ms. Shaw.
I have a larger drawing, similar to the one you've got there.
We got it.
Got it?
We got it.
Okay.
You may have,
No, hers is not on.
we can't hear you. Speak up a little.
My question is to Mr. Hutton. The pictures.
Mr. Stanley.
I cannot hear you. May I come over there?
Mr. Stanley,
No, sir.
tell her to wait because it's recording.
What?
Yeah.
It's recording, so she needs to hold on just a minute.
Hello, hello.
They're trying to get it to work. Maybe it should go to another one. But as Deb says, this is
While she's waiting, could I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out, what does the bedroom, what is the relevancy of bringing the bedroom into this picture?
I'm sorry?
That's the neighbor's bedroom. They're looking out the
I know
window.
the neighbor's bedroom, but as it is now without the building, the bedroom is unshielded. When you put the building up there, it will shield the bedroom from the neighbor. So what is the relevancy?
Well, I'll have to let Mr. Necrosi address that,
The-
because he's the one that brings that
The
issue.
window up on my neighbor's house is right even with the front of this building, of the fence. It's not back behind the fence. It's not down in.
I understand that, but what is the relevancy in this particular situation?
I'll let Mr. Necrosi address that.
Okay.
Okay,
Now for my question.
all right. Yes, Ms. Shaw.
Okay. The pictures that we received from Mr. Negrosi, the top picture, what is that?
you have to go see.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Is that the greenhouse or what is that?
This is right here is where we started.
Can I look at that drawing?
That's
We can't hear him, Mr.
Mr. Hutto, you're gonna have to move.
Okay.
Mr. Hutto,
Okay.
Mr. Hutto, you're gonna have to go
You
back.
have
We
to go
can't
back to
hear.
the mic.
And we gotta move this on. Go ahead, Jennifer, real quick.
Okay, but I just wanted to know what this was, and he said that
That's
it's...
where we started putting it up.
Okay, so is it going to have something else on the front of it? Because this looks...
Oh, yeah, it's gonna have
It's just
8-foot
look-
cypress fence boards on the front of it and the side.
Oh, okay, because it just looks like a big...
That's just framework.
He stopped
We
construction.
were told to stop, and we did.
6 weeks ago.
Okay, all right, because I was thinking this looks just like a shipping crate
No,
It looks
he
sitting
stopped
in the
construction.
side of the yard.
Okay,
It's horrible looking.
Yeah,
All right.
that's just framework.
Okay.
okay. All right, we got it.
We're good?
Yeah. Do you have something else to say, Mr. Hutto?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Wait a second. Okay, y'all finished?
Yeah, I believe so. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Mr. Croce?
And I may have a rebuttal.
I'm Kitty Necrosi, I'm Charles's wife. You know, in Ridgefield, we have these side yard setback requirements, 20 feet, 10 on his, 10 on ours. This is for safety purposes. And why I think Mr. Hutto is very much ill-informed is he thinks that the 10 feet quote that he thinks is his, he can put anything on it he wants to. He also informed me he could put the 10-foot fence all the way down to the street. I think he is ill-informed. We've never had this kind of variance granted in Ridgefield. All of this he can do behind his fence line. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Brown, you got any questions?
Oh, you said
Did
you would
You were
do
going to
it.
ask Mr. Croce, Mr. Croce. Ms. Brown's got a question for you relative to your bedroom, the bedroom window on that side of your home.
What
I was
about,
wondering what was the relevancy of it being presented in this situation by him putting up the greenhouse. How right now,
a
it,
9-foot fence, there's going to be a storage room, and that's what we don't want.
He doesn't want the view.
oh, he doesn't like the view. Oh,
10 feet,
okay.
right. Okay? All right?
Yeah, a question. I'm going to ask Mr. Hutto.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. What is...
Mr. Hutto, got one more question for you.
Why is it that you do not want it in the backyard with all that space back there? What's the hang up on that?
There's plenty of space in the backyard to put this thing if we have to. We're just trying to not fill the yard up and to use dead space.
Okay, well, okay.
And the bedroom window is not facing, it's up from the window. It's not behind the fence.
Not black.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay?
And can I
All right, Mr. Howell, one more question.
If you don't put the greenhouse there, will you still put the fence there?
I would like to put a fence there of some kind, 6 foot if I have to.
I go 7.
It still hides the garbage cans. It still hides all the electrical on the side of the house.
Well, you're allowed 7 anyway.
Pardon?
You're allowed 7 anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I either buy 6-foot boards or 8-foot boards, so
Okay.
yeah, it's just, we wanted to clean up that area, and we figured, well, heck, that's a dead space in there. We would make use of it.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am, you got something to you?
I do.
Okay.
We're putting it there so it's not blocking.
You're going to have to speak into the mic. We cannot.
We're putting it on the side of the house, up farther, so that it doesn't block the view in the back of the house. Our neighbors have a beautiful backyard, and they do. We also have a beautiful backyard. And another building going back there is going to block a view. Where it will go will still be between our houses. It will be within code. but it will be set so that it's very visible. And this is what we were trying to maintain, that it was not going to be visible from their house. This is where it was going. And at this point, we will put, you know, if you do not pass this, we, as my husband says, we can move it. It will take some energy and a little more money, but the location is going to be visible to them. So that's this. The stupid part of the whole thing is we're trying to be really good neighbors so that nothing bothers anybody. And as a result, we're here and it does bother somebody. So, you know, I feel that we're moving ahead and going backwards, because I have a hunch we're going to be back here for something else, because we're putting a greenhouse in their visible path in the backyard where it would never be, because they don't open their, it's not really visible to them daily or anything like that as where it's going now. That's all.
Well, you won't be back here if you're at least 10 feet off the side property line and you don't exceed height restrictions.
Right.
Okay, and you deal with your water on your property, and there's some other compliant issues, but you probably won't be. Okay?
It will be.
The reason you're here is because you're too close to the side property line.
I understand, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, this
All right.
thing, if we move it, it doesn't have to be 10 foot from the property line, does it?
Has to be at least 10 feet from the property line, or you come back to see us again to ask for a variance.
Okay, because we've already done this one time, and I have a shop 5 feet from the property line for you guys on the other side.
Total code.
Okay, well then, I guess the board approved that at some point in the past.
Sure did. Guy came out and checked it, too.
Okay.
Told us. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
But you, Ms. Tutto, you can put it closer to the property line if you go to the back, but you have to come back to the board if you're within 10 feet.
Okay, that's logical.
Right.
Chairman,
Thank you. Okay.
to clarify.
Mr. Center?
Once he clears.
I can't hear you.
Once he clears the.
You got to speak louder, James.
Once he clears the required side yard, he can come to 5 feet. The 10 feet's the required side yard.
10 feet on the side, but
Yes,
not the
sir.
rear.
Once he clears that required side yard, so he gets behind the house, he can come within 5.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that, Ms. Tutto? Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Crosser, you got something else to say? I'll give you,
Real quick.
very please.
Storage building, you can store gasoline and other items in there, which could cause a safety factor at a later date. And that's why, another reason we don't want it on the side.
I understand.
Thank you.
But the petitioner did state that he would not do that. But I understand, well taken, thank you. All right, since there's no other discussion, the board, I will entertain a motion. Chair will entertain a motion.
I move to deny the variance because, as presented, it violates the zoning ordinance and it can be moved somewhere else.
Have a motion to deny based on the reasons given. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Williams, is that Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams has seconded the motion. Are there any further discussions from the board? All in favor of the motion as presented, please raise your hand. 4 against. All opposed? Okay. We don't have a motion.
Can I make another motion?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we grant the petitioner, or we grant the petition based on whether or not Mr. Hutto is willing to move his greenhouse to the backyard as opposed to erecting it where he's proposing to do so right now, which is on the side yard, but move it to the back.
And still be right on the property line?
Yes, and still be on the property line, you know, the 5 feet off the property line, like he should be, but just move it to the backyard as opposed to the side yard. And then he can still have his greenhouse, and
Well-
nobody will be offended.
Well, we don't know where he's going to move it to the backyard, okay? And I think that we've got to have more description here just to give him the right to move it to the back and only be 5 feet off the property line. That's too subjective, okay? And then are you saying that what about his fence? You got 3 parts. I mean, he wants his fence too. He wants an 8-foot fence.
Well, he wants the 8-foot fence to go where he currently wants to put it.
That's correct, but that's part of the petitioner's request here, okay? So, the motion to deny would have prohibited him from going next to the house, and then he could decide later where he wants to put it,
Oh, okay.
okay? You want to make that motion again, Mr. Howell?
Sure. I'd like to restate, remove the previous motion. Motion to deny based on the fact it violates the zoning ordinance and that it can be moved somewhere else.
So your motion is to deny this location, deny the fence,
Yes.
with the request that the petitioner relocate it to the rear, but he's got to come back and represent it if he's going to be within 10 feet of the property line, 5 feet of the rear property line, right?
Sure.
Okay?
Got to follow the zoning ordinance.
Okay? Everybody understand that? Okay? Do I have a second to that?
Second again.
Second, Mr. Williams. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that motion carries.
Wait a minute, I got 6.
Huh?
You counted 5, I counted 6.
Raise your hand again. I'm sorry. 6. Opposed? Okay. Okay. Mr. Tuttle, do you understand what we did?
I have a hard time hearing.
Okay. We denied your request.
All of it?
Yes, sir. Okay? Now, you can put up a 7-foot fence anyway. You're allowed to do that without coming back.
Okay.
You can relocate your building to your rear, behind your house,
Behind the house.
and be 5 feet off the property line, right, James?
Yes,
and
sir.
not have to come back to this board.
Done.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sorry
Ms.
to
Shaw,
take up so much of your
that
time.
accomplished what you were after.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Item 2 is presented by Pastor Jose Billups. Hello, Pastor.
Hello.
Representing Consuming Fire Ministries. Hadn't seen you in a while.
It's been a long time.
Requesting a special exception for church use and a front yard variance for a new ID sign to be located at 4160 Troy Highway in an M1 zoning district.
Yes,
How you been?
I've been good.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Good to see the entire board.
Thank you.
Right.
Tell us what you want to do.
Do you have a diagram of the facility?
Yes, sir.
Already? This is a building that was once, as I understand the history of it, was used by 84 Lumber. And recently, I guess in the past, maybe a year or so ago, it was used by Brian Carpet as their facility, along with 2 other offices that were located in this same facility with them. It is now currently vacant and owned by Regions Bank, and we're looking to acquire it. But before we did that, we wanted to make sure that it could be, that we want to take the old warehouse part of this building and reconstitute it into a sanctuary. And I understand I had to see you all before I did anything else.
Yeah, you do.
That's what I mean.
You've been here many times, you know that. All right, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Why do you want the ID sign to come to the front property line? Can you not move it off that front property line some?
Well, if you would pretty much have to see the location where the turn-in is, there is, it sits back off the highway already, if you see where the turn in, and you see the property line, there is a, I guess, a utility easement between the property line and the current highway that's there. If you set it back too much further, I don't know if it would be appropriately placed for advertisement reasons, and it'll be a short sign that won't come up high. It's just going to be about waist high or a little bit above waist high, just to put the church name on it, so that it would identify.
So
the
it's
church.
not going to exceed 4 feet in height? Maybe 3?
I won't say that. Won't be taller than me. But it's whatever would be a good level, just to put it in a base and then put a sign on top of that
Well,
base.
if we're going to grant you the right to put up a sign,
Yes, sir.
we're going to want to know the height and the base, not to exceed a certain height and not to exceed a certain width. Because when you're putting up a sign, we want to make sure the sign doesn't block or pose a problem with traffic.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Because there's not a sign included here, I'm going to ask you to give us a sign height not to exceed and a width not to exceed.
Would you like for me to tell you that now?
Sure.
Okay. What about not to exceed 5 feet?
Height,
Height
not to exceed 5 feet in height,
and height, and not to exceed.
6 feet in width.
Sounds good to me.
Okay?
Yes.
Is it lit or not?
That I don't know. I don't even have now plans as far as putting the sign there. I just wanted to make sure I tried to cover all the bases so I wouldn't have to come back here. If it was going to be lit, it would probably be a light that was on the ground that shined up on the sign.
But it'd be a double-sided sign, perpendicular.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And I would like to add to your question, from where it is, and as far as cars pulling out onto the highway, the property line is set back far enough to where it would not be any, it wouldn't inhibit anyone seeing the actual highway, because the sign would be set back far enough for that to take place.
Right, right. We look at that and realize that that's an advantage for you, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, board members? Are you, let's see, you're going to have 30 paid parking spaces. Are those spaces already in?
Well,
Are they installed now, or are you going to have to do 30?
The spaces are already there, and we'll have the entire building. So what I was looking to do is to, until we can afford to pave the parking, was to probably put down some of the slag material for parking, because we have the entire facility. It's not as if we were going to be sharing it with anyone.
But you'll have at least 30 paid parking spaces.
At least 30 paid parking.
Are they striped?
Yes.
If not, they will be?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know that building it's been there a while.
Yes.
It's been vacant a while.
Yes.
And chances are the paved stripes are faded or not even there.
They're faded. You can still identify them to a degree, of course. As far as what we would want it to look like in the future, it doesn't look nearly as nice as I would want it to look. And I don't know what power this board has to give away money, but.
Would you agree to restripe at least 30 parking?
I will. I'll restripe at least 30.
At least 30.
At least 30, I will.
Mr. Chairman, it needs to also designate a handicap spot.
Yes, with handicap.
Yes.
Because it may not have any handicap designated right now. You know?
I don't recall that it does, but I would put that in just for.
Okay. What about exterior lighting?
From what I can tell, it has plenty of.
Probably not been a priority for that property. So what are you going to do about exterior lighting?
They do have exterior lighting already there, and I guess they may have had it for security reasons. There are lights at the rear of the building as well as along the front of the building.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we grant the variance with the understanding of what has been okayed.
Okay.
Second.
You understand that, Pastor?
That.
What he has said about the exterior lighting, the designation of handicap, on all of this that has already been designated.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Second.
Got it. Got it. Mr. Prince, second. Have a further discussion? You understand everything required here, Pastor? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Item 3 is presented by Claire Chisler, requesting a side yard variance for an addition to the dwelling located at 2120 East 5th Street in R60S zoning district.
Okay.
We got a mic that we can get down to her. That-
Can that one be removed?
She's gonna stand up.
I'll give you first you stay seated.
He's got a mic here he's gonna bring to you.
Okay.
Check, 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 check.
Oh, that's it. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sit back down, sugar.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, hello.
Hello, Miss Chisler, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How
Good,
about you?
good. You wanna,
Okay, we're here today because of
you're gonna have to speak up a little more.
all right, I can't talk any louder than I'm talking.
You're doing good, that's good.
I have had a stroke, Tony,
Yes, ma'am.
and I also have a hip replacement. So I can't talk very loud, so I'm going to let Bob do the
You're doing good.
talking for me. Okay?
You're doing good.
Is that all right with
I
you?
can hear.
And I will remain seated if you don't mind.
Just keep that mic in front of your mouth.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right, thank you.
But you are Claire Chisler.
I am Claire Chisler.
Chisler, okay, and you live at 2120
And I
East
own the
Fifth.
property here at 2120 East 5th Street. Most of you I know where East 5th Street is.
I do.
Okay? I'm going to let Bob Rogers talk for me if he will.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Right, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sufficiently? Okay, what we're here for is a variance. But what it is, and I understand you already have copies of the property that we're talking about on this particular item.
Yes, sir,
You
we
have-
do.
okay.
It's in our agenda.
What it is right behind that old house, there had been an older building there that had been used for multi-purpose reasons. But it got pretty bad and went down, so we still have a slab there. And we wanted to utilize that slab, and when we got ready to do it, we noticed that it was over to the side a little bit. So we checked with, downtown, and Miss Tanya told us what we needed to do because of the fact that the property allotment on the other side would not allow for us to move it the other way. So what we're essentially doing is just asking for a variance so we can enhance the existing slab where it now stands. And if you look, it's not really next to any additional people's property. It's right next to an active alley. You see?
Right.
So, and it's been there for years, umpteen years. And so we're just simply asking for a variance so that we can enhance that slab and move on with the addition and attach it to the building.
What was the slab used for previously?
Another building, and I can describe the building. It had a garage on one side, and then on the other side they had a coal bin, an old coal bin. Then there was a common wall that went all the way about halfway of the building, and then in the back they had two little partitions. This fellow's Mr. Moody. He used to be in construction, and the only thing we can ascertain is he had some mattresses in there, and the only thing we were thinking is that he probably allowed some of his workers to maybe stay there as a temporary place for them to stay until they could, do something better. Then on the further back part of it was opened, that was kind of like a barbecue area, a cooking area, something like that. But it's a good slab. It's got some cracks in it, but we just wanted to use the existing slab and enhance it, get a better footing all the way around it, and then go up with something better as an addition.
So you're going to build on top of this slab. Is it going to be heated and cooled, or is it going to be a garage? What's the purpose for it?
It would be an addition for the purpose of probably a couple of bedrooms, a bathroom to supplement the one that's on the inside, because it's going to have to be renovated. It's an older house. And probably a utility room in the middle area. Now let me explain this. Right behind the house, if you look at the photo, you see that gable that's very prominent that goes all the way down parallel to the alley.
Right.
And where it stops, the slab actually begins approximately 15 feet on beyond that gable. Okay? Now, I think what's happened is what we're wanting to do is she has shown it all the way up next to the house, because that's what we intend to do, is what we're trying to do, is build an addition as an extension of the house, because there's already a door on the side of that house there to accommodate that. And then go on out to cover that slab, enhance the slab, and go on up with the addition.
Okay. You realize you're in a R60S single-family zoning, and this is not an addition for rental purposes now, is it?
Well, it is rental property. I can't say that it's not, because it is rental property.
It's single-family. It cannot be multifamily.
It cannot be multifamily, right?
You understand that?
Right.
It can be rented for single-family purpose,
Right.
not duplex or multifamily.
Right,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, just want to make sure y'all understood the zoning here.
Right.
Okay. All right, so you're 2 feet off the property line, but that alley's probably 25, 30 feet, wouldn't you say, James? Tommy?
I think 20, yes, sir.
And so you're still off from the adjacent property owners, so you're not too close to an existing structure is what I'm saying.
Right, I mean, to the other owners.
The building department will determine the rating along that property line.
Right.
And also have to determine whether that existing slab can be used. So.
Right.
That'll be determined at that level.
Right. So be careful, just because we grant this, if we grant this, be careful, don't go out there and all of a sudden start building and then your slab's not compliant or your exterior wall adjacent to that alley is not compliant.
Okay.
You got some building.
We still have some building codes we're going to have to
Yes, you got some building code requirements.
get a good assessment before we can do that.
That's correct. Okay?
All right.
Any other questions? Did anyone in the audience care to address this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I would say I have seen it, and I didn't see anything wrong with what they were planning on doing, except for looking back there, fixing what was there first. So I'm going to make my motion if it is brought up to par.
Up to code.
Up to code. Then I'd vote to approve it. I move to
Okay, now we're approving the variance, or the petitioner's request for the variance. We're not approving anything regarding construction. All I was doing was making them aware of other obligations they've got.
Okay, that's included in my motion. It's not an addition for multiple families and all that. And if it is brought up to code, then my motion comes in.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the petitioner's request.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, Tom.
Hope you have a nice home there. A nice home addition. Item number 4 is presented Marcelia Vasquez Kenter, requesting a special exception to place a mobile home for living purposes on a parcel located on the east side of Durbin Street in the southernmost extension of a flood hazard zoning district. Ms. Kenter.
It's Vasquez Quintero, but it's okay.
Okay.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. How you doing? Okay, so you want to do a mobile home there?
Yes, sir. We're interested in buying the property.
Excuse me?
We were interested in buying the property.
Okay, you haven't bought it yet?
No, sir. We wanted to
Okay.
make sure that we could put the mobile home on it.
Okay,
And we weren't aware that it was a flood hazard area.
okay.
That's your problem, not ours.
Okay,
Yeah.
that works for me.
So, because she's placing it in a flood zone, she's got to get a variance.
Got to get it
And she
two-
got to achieve
No,
a
she-
certain
It's gotta be 2
height
feet-
elevation?
It's got to be 2 feet above
The base flood
base
elevation.
flood elevation.
Okay.
2 feet above, okay?
Yeah, but that would be handled by the engineering department.
Right.
Yeah, you'll
But
need
just
to,
to give you some advice there.
Okay, thank you.
you want to determine that before you buy the property,
Yes, sir.
so that you know that you can put the mobile home there without having to raise it a large amount.
Okay.
Because we can't tell you the base flood elevation.
Right,
out
thank
there.
you. Yes, sir.
So it might be 2 feet, it might be 6 feet.
Okay. Where would I find that out?
Check with the engineering.
Engineer.
City engineering at
Okay.
25 Washington, second floor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Because there's the
Talk-
flood elevation varies, you know.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yeah, speak to John Trevor.
Tremor?
Trevor.
Trevor.
John Trevor.
Trevor.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Find it out before she gets us approved.
Excuse me?
Would she want to find that out before she may want to
Delay it.
Oh, no. We'll approve it. She does not, we're just letting her know. That's an issue she's got to deal with.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, the underlying zoning for a flood hazard is Ag 1. As a special exception, it's coming to y'all because that's the underlying zoning. So it's no different than if it was in an Ag 1.
Okay. Okay. But it just happens to be in a flood hazard.
And that's the zoning. It may not even be in the flood.
Right, right.
Okay.
Just be.
That's just the zone.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
Okay.
Just be careful.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions of the petition?
I have
Steve,
one.
Mr. Hopkins?
Is Durbin Street a dedicated street all the way to in front of the property? Because our map page doesn't show Durbin Street there, unless I'm not looking at it right.
No, look on the aerial.
I see it on the aerial.
You see that green line going all the way down?
Yes.
That green line means it's a public street.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the petition? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. We have a second. Ms. Brown, was that you? Have a motion to second. Ms. Brown, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. Yes, good luck. Item number 5, presented by Kimbrough Renovations, requesting an exception to smart code for a freestanding pole sign and a sign band on the facade of the building located at 627 East Jefferson Street in a T40 smart code zoning district. Before the petitioner gets started, board members, you've got here in front of you examples of other signs that are in the area. But they're probably grandfathered prior to smart code. Okay? So now the petitioner is subject to smart code. Okay?
Good evening. I'm Chris Kimbrough. I own that property. I have since 2003. One of these, we're proposing 2 signs. There's an existing sign pole out front that's over the years it started leaning, and we propose to straighten it up, add an S scroll up top, and make it nice again. And we have in fact had a sign on that pole before in years past, and there's remnants still hanging there of it, but it blew off and we just never replaced it. So we'd like to add a sign there, and I've got a photo in your packet there. Well, there's one on the screen now, and we've sized that logo in there to the actual size that we intend to do. And also, we would like to do a sign band across the front of the building, and you should have a photo of that also, again, correctly sized based on what we want to do. And our vision for that would be that it's kind of a wash, distressed look on that brick, kind of like some of the other buildings further down the west side of Jefferson are.
Okay, the freestanding pole sign will not be lit, correct?
No.
Not lit. What is the dimensions of that sign, basically?
That, on the hanging sign would be 15 square feet, and we started with that because initially we thought that was going to be the size that was allowable and, you know, without coming before the board. Now, I guess it turns out that's not the case. But, you know, at the time, we actually had a cutout made to the 15 square foot size, hung it up there, and then superimposed the logo over it to get the sizing correctly for you to see.
Okay. The sign on the building is not lit either, correct?
Not lit either.
Okay. All right. Any questions, board members? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Brown? Ms. Brown moves to approve the variance or the request as presented. Any, I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Shaw. Any further discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6, presented by Christopher Peters, requesting a height variance for a privacy fence to be located at 3965 Croydon Road in R65S zoning district. Mr. Peters?
Yes, sir.
Just tell us what you want.
Yeah, I'm wanting to go a foot above the 7-foot variance in the Johnstown area. I already built, it's almost a 10-foot section before I even knew I had to get permits and stuff. I didn't realize you had to have a permit for an existing fence. Didn't even realize we had a variance of only 7 feet. So the whole reason I built it 8 feet over there is because I got an AC unit, and I got a dog, an English Shepherd about this tall. He's jumping my fence. Nice dog. I just don't want him to jump the fence and bite somebody, basically. So, and I wanted to keep it uniformed around the rest of the property. There's a reason I'm asking to go 8 foot and just continue without having to trim down what's already there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? Was anyone in opposition that we know of, or did we just, one of our inspectors see it, or is that what it was?
Yes.
Nobody objected to it that we're aware of? Excuse me?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any questions, board members? John, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, have a second?
Second.
Ms. Shaw, seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll still need to get a permit, though.
Yeah, she said I had to go down there and take this one from 7 feet to 8.
Item 7 is presented by Free Will Missionary Baptist Church, requesting a setback variance for a new ID sign to be located at 1724 Hill Street in an R60D zoning district.
Good evening.
Hello.
As you stated, we're requesting a variance for a new sign, a church sign, to be placed between our old and new sanctuaries, or older and newer sanctuaries. The setback that we're requesting is 4 feet.
It's hard for me to tell if that's going to potentially obstruct the view of traffic. Have you looked at that?
Yes, we have, and I don't see any potential for obstructing the view.
Because if you're coming off of Roosevelt, Drive, is that sign going to affect the view of traffic on Hill Street? It's not?
It's not going to obstruct anything.
Okay. Okay. So the sign is going to be 15 feet 7 inches high at the highest point?
That's correct.
Is it going to be lit, backlit?
It'll be a digital sign.
A digital sign?
Yes.
On two sides?
On both sides.
So it'll sit perpendicular?
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
We
Shaw?
just need, what's his name? What's your name?
I'm sorry, Douglas Jones.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry I didn't ask that question.
Okay.
Doug, I haven't seen you in a while, man.
It's been a
I didn't
while.
recognize you either, you know? Good to see you. Any other questions, board members? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? I'll entertain a motion. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second? Second. Second, Mr. Hughes. Any further discussions? All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right. That concludes our meeting. Have a motion to approve the minutes.
So be it.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.